All right, everyone, welcome back. So, our 2024 reviews continue on today with the Montreal Canadiens. Honestly, thought the Canadiens had a very solid season, even though they had a below 500 record and things weren't looking too great at points. It does feel like the stats are getting better for Montreal as the years progress on. So, this season, they finished off with a 30, 36, and 16 record for 76 points. They were 28th in the NHL. Honestly thought Montreal had a better season than they've had in years before. It seems like as the years progress on, they're going up in the standings and they're getting better and better. But there is still some work to be done before this team is fully there as a playoff team just yet. I do think that they're still a few pieces away and obviously a few years away before we see them back in the playoffs yet again. They have a .463 points percentage, which is ranked 28th. They have scored 236 goals and let in 289 for a minus 53 difference overall. Not too bad. It's better than it was in previous years. Again, it feels like goaltending-wise and defensively, the numbers have gotten better. They have a 16, 20, and 5 record at home, and they're 14, 16, and 11 on the road. So, above all, they're better at home than they are on the road. But still, it does show that the record and the stats are improving from last season. So goals for, they were 26 with a 2.83, and goals against, they were also 26 with a 3.43. So that being said, the numbers are better offensively. They almost have a 3 goals per game average, which is way better from what it was in previous years. Goals against is still something you can work on, but it is getting better. Their power play percentage is 17.5, which is 27th, and their penalty kill is 76.5, which is 24th. So the numbers are getting a lot better. The power play still isn't awesome, but I think it has the pieces to be a good power play. You just got to give it some time. And as for the penalty kill as well, it kind of goes for the same thing. I think that in terms of just the penalty kill has gotten better as the years have gone on. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago it was absolutely terrible. Now it's way better. So I think that it's showing the rises in the standings that we're expecting to see from a team that's rebuilding. So their TikTok average, meaning their average in my power rankings, was a 6.55, which is 29th in the NHL overall amongst the teams. If you're wondering why are they 6.55, it's based on overall standings. I would do standings power rankings. So just so you guys know in regards to why are they 6.55. So that's your team stats. I think the team stats show that this team's gotten a lot better. Offensively, there are a lot of players who really did improve this year. One of them being Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki, before this season, he never had a 30-goal year, never had a 70-point year. He was looked at as being kind of overrated by a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans. Now I'd say he's met the expectations that were given to him a couple seasons ago. Suzuki, 82 games played, 33 goals, 44 assists for 77 points. Those are way better numbers than we've seen from Suzuki in previous years. It shows that the team is getting better, and it shows that with that, Suzuki is getting better, and he's improving as the years progress on. Same with Cole Caulfield. Now, Caulfield's numbers, even though he played a full 82-game season, his goal scoring has kind of calmed down a little bit. 28 goals, 37 assists for 65 points over a full 82-game season. As I said, it just seems like the scoring has really kind of calmed down for Caulfield. We're not seeing the consistent 35, 40-goal seasons that we were expected to see. Now, when the team gets better, will he score more? Absolutely. But honestly, when you're looking in terms of right now, he hasn't met that expectation of 35, 40 goals just yet. So that is something that I expect to come soon, but just not exactly yet. So Caulfield second in scoring there. That shouldn't be a surprise. What might surprise you, though, is Mike Matheson had a terrific season this year. 82 games played, 11 goals, 51 assists for 62 points. Matheson, obviously, too, had a great year defensively and offensively. Looked like awesome as a defenseman. I don't think anyone thought he was going to have a 60-point year. Maybe a 30, 40-point year, but not a 60-point season out of someone like Matheson. So it shows there that you got some impressive numbers from a defenseman who might be here for a little bit longer than we thought he was going to be. We thought he might just be a defenseman that sticks around for the whole rebuild, but nope, he's been that solid player all year. And one thing I've noticed too is that even though there have been injuries, the team looks way healthier than they've been in previous seasons. They look way healthier this past year. I remember even last year they weren't healthy whatsoever, and it was a reason why they weren't that great. This year they were a lot healthier, and it showed in the stats. So, fourth in scoring, Juraj Slafkovsky. Slafkovsky had an incredible second half of the season and really kind of showed us that he can be a legitimate first-round pick, a legitimate solid player. So Slafkovsky, 82 games played, 20 goals, 30 assists for 50 points overall this season. Again, I thought Slafkovsky had a good year. I think that in the second half of the season, he really showed what he can be. And I think you get that over a full 82-game season, even though he did play a full 82-game season this year. I think that he could be a legitimate 70, 75-point scorer at the end of the day. So I think that he can be one of those legitimate players. I don't know if he's better than a guy like Logan Cooley or a guy like, let's say, Shane Wright. But obviously, I think that he can definitely be a great, solid top six forward for his NHL career with the Canadiens. I think it's overall a good pick, and hopefully next year is a much better year from Slafkovsky for sure. So in terms of fifth in scoring, you got Alex Newhook. Newhook with 55 games played, 15 goals, 19 assists for 34 points. Newhook did miss some games. If he played a full season, he might be at a, per se, like maybe 50-point season. Overall, not bad there. He's an unproven player. He didn't score a whole lot on the Avalanche, so it didn't surprise me that overall he wasn't like a big-time scorer. So I think Newhook had a good development year. I think next year could be a better year for Newhook. Hopefully we see that, but I think he still had a good season overall. Brendan Gallagher, 77 games played, 16 goals, 15 assists, 31 points. He's been that physical forward for many years. I do think, though, there's a chance we see Gallagher maybe leave in the offseason or they try and trade him. I'm not entirely too sure what happens there, but I've seen a lot of rumors that maybe Gallagher doesn't stay with the Montreal Canadiens heading into next season. But obviously, we got plenty of time before the offseason, so we shall find out. Jake Evans, 7th in scoring, 82 games played, 7 goals, 21 assists, 28 points. Evans was a solid 30-point scorer, solid middle six, bottom six forward this season. Joel Armia, with a 66 games played, 17 goals, 8 assists, 25 points. Not a bad season either. I think Armia obviously missed some games, but still a solid player. Not the guy we saw in the finals run a couple of years ago, but still not a bad bottom six forward. David Savard, 9th with 60 games played, 6 goals, 18 assists for 24 points. I thought David Savard had a good season too. There were rumors that he was going to get traded, but it looks like they're gonna keep him through the stretch of the rebuild here. So we'll see if he stays for another season, but obviously I guess we'll find out. And then Caden Gooley is 10th in scoring, 70 games played, 6 goals, 16 assists for 22 points with the Canadiens this season. He's one of those guys who looked to be one of the better defensive prospects for the Canadiens heading into 24-25. So that is your top 10 scorers. Notice there's some notable guys that are not on the list, like Kirby Dach. Dach missed a lot of games. Actually, I think he played 2 games, then got injured and was out for the season. So sucks for Dach, but hopefully next year he can stay healthy and get back into the lineup then. But obviously, it's not too ideal when you're looking in terms of guys overall who were selected to be young players on this team. So not great there, but hopefully there will be some other guys who come up into the lineup next year, like Lane Hudson played games at the end of the season, and he looked good for the Canadiens too. So hopefully they can build off of that in 24-25. That's the expectation at the very least. So in terms of goaltending here, you got Sam Montembeault. Montembeault with a 16, 15, and 9 record, a 3.14 and a .903. So with the Canadiens signing Montembeault to, I think, a 3-year contract this offseason or in the middle of this season, I think it shows that they're going to keep Montembeault as that starting goalie, at least through the rebuild. I don't know if they keep him as the current guy when they're out of this rebuild, but I think they're going to keep him as the guy when they're in the middle of this retool rebuild-esque. Because I think that Montembeault hasn't been bad. I think the team in front of him just isn't that great. I think he's a good goalie, but just, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in a couple of years when the Canadiens are out of this rebuild, but the hope is that maybe Montembeault will be that guy. Maybe Caden Primo will be too. Primo with 8-9-4 record, a 2.99 and a .910 save percentage. So I think Primo had a good season too. I think that, there's been talks of like, oh, he's never reached that potential that we thought he was going to be. But I think there's still time for that. Goalies are kind of a weird thing. They take a little bit longer to develop. So chances are maybe maybe Primo will be that guy in the future. But as of right now, it seems like that's Montebalt's net for the foreseeable future. So that's it for player stats. In terms of guys who left and came in during the season, so your ins, you got Frederick Sergevist, Jacob Perreault, and a first and 2/3. So some more capital there for the team. Peralta's a solid prospect. Not a big name guy, but still a decent prospect overall. And then Serquist, I don't know a whole lot about him. And then the outs, you got Sean Monahan, Jared Misak, Jason Laguerre, and then Jake Allen as well is not on the list. But I remember that he is actually a guy who did leave in the middle of this season. So above all, couldn't make a whole lot of moves, but the Monahan deal was looked at as the best one. So that gives them, I think, 2 first-round picks in the next 4 years, or 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years. So that's something you got to keep in mind. There are 2 impressive numbers for Montreal in that area. Your draft capital for the 2024 draft, moving into that, you got 2 firsts, a second, 2/3, a fourth, 2 fifths, a sixth, and 3 sevenths. So notice how they have a lot of late-round picks there. It shows that this team's looking to get some capital from the late rounds in the draft. And if you're going to go and make this team contending, you have to strike in the later rounds of the draft. Like, there's going to have to be later picks that you get and they become NHL players. That needs to happen if the Canadiens want to become that cup contending team yet again. I think they definitely can, but as I said, that way is gonna have to happen. So we'll see what happens there. In terms of UFAs and RFAs, to wrap this video up, you got Tanner Pearson, Colin White, and Chris Weidman as your UFAs. I think they keep Pearson around. White and Weidman, not too sure about them, but obviously we'll see. RFAs, you got Jesse Yolonen, and Orvar Xhekaj. There's been rumors of Xhekaj leaving or getting traded. Maybe that happens, maybe not. We'll see. And then Yolonen, I think there's a legitimate possibility that he stays too, but obviously we shall find out. So in terms of the offseason, not a whole lot for the Canadiens to really worry about, and unless if you're looking at like guys you can trade for and stuff like that. I am looking ahead to the draft. They do have the 5th overall pick, so I would expect for them to take a forward, which I expected for them to do last year, but then again, we shall obviously see. So yeah, that concludes our 2024 review for the Montreal Canadiens. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. But regardless, that does it for me. Next one will be the Arizona Coyotes, the final one ever for this team. But regardless, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.